very thoughtful.
Hi, Vinay. Hi. Welcome. Okay, we're in English
How are
Book
you?
Club. I'm very well, thank you. I can hear you now, so I'm even better. Okay, so English Book
Uh,
Club today, Monday. Everybody, I hope, is ready to read. And today's reading list is Eleanor will start, followed by Shiny, then April, then Vinay, and then if she manages to come in and get her connection to work, Reem. Okay? Haven't missed anybody there. Good. So, really, whenever you're ready, Eleanor, if you'd like to start reading, that would be cool.
I I'm ready to be scalped. Okay.
Can you give me the first letter or the first sentence you are going to read?
Chapter 10.
Chapter 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Neat
Nice
and
and
nice.
easy. Nice and easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably?
Yeah, that's so.
Okay.
Probably the day would have been a greater success if Cyril had not been reading The Last of the Mohicans. The story was running in his head at breakfast, and as he took his third cup of tea, he said dreamily, "I wish there were Red Indians in England. Not big ones, you know, but little ones, just about the right size for us to fight." Everyone disagreed with him at the time, and no one attached any importance to the incident. But when they went down to the sandpit to ask for £100 in 2 shillings pieces with Queen Victoria's head on, to prevent mistakes, which they had always felt to be a really reasonable wish that must turn out well, they found out that they had done it again. For the summit, which was very cross and sleepy, said, "Oh, don't bother me, you've had your wish." "I didn't know it," said Cyril. "Don't you remember yesterday?" said the Sand Fairy still more disagreeably. "You asked me to let you have your wishes wherever you happened to be, and you wished this morning, and you've got it." "Oh, have we?" said Robert. "What is it?" "So you've forgotten," said the Summit, beginning to burrow. "Never mind, you'll know soon enough, and I wish you joy of it, and I think you've let yourselves in for." "We always do somehow," said Jane sadly. And now the odd thing was that no one could remember anyone's having wished for anything that morning. The wish about the Red Indians had not stuck in anyone's head. It was a most anxious morning. Everyone was trying to remember what had been wished for, and no one could, and everyone kept expecting something awful to happen every minute. It was most agitating. They knew from what the Summit had said that they must have wished for something more than usually undesirable, and they spent several hours in most agonizing uncertainty. It was not till nearly dinner time that Jane thumbed over The Last of the Mohicans, which had, of course, been left face downwards on the floor. And when Antia had picked her and the book up, she suddenly said, "I know," and sat down flat on the carpet. "Oh, Pussy, how awful! It was Indians he wished for, Cyril, at breakfast. Don't you remember? He said, 'I wish there were Red Indians in England.' And now they are, and they're going about scalping people all over the country as likely as not." "Perhaps they're only in Northumberland and Durham," said Jane soothingly. It was almost impossible to believe that it could really hurt people much to be scalped so far away as that. "Don't you believe it?" said Antia. "The Samyat said we'd let ourselves in for a nice thing. That means they come here, and suppose they scalp the lamb. Perhaps the scalping would come right again at sunset, said Jane, but she did not speak so hopefully as usual. Not it, said Antia. The things that grow out of the wishes don't go. Look at the 15 shillings, Pussy. I'm going to break something, and you must let me have every penny of money you've got. The Indians will come here, don't you see? That spiteful Psamit as good as said so. You see what my plan is. Come on. Jane did not see at all, but she followed her sister meekly into Mother's bedroom. Antia lifted down the heavy water jug. It had a pattern of stalks and long grasses on it, which Antia never forgot. She carried it into the dressing room and carefully emptied the water out of it into the bath. Then she took the jug back into the bedroom and dropped it on the floor. You know how a jug always breaks if you happen to drop it by accident. If you happen to drop it on purpose, it is quite different. Antia dropped the jug 3 times, and it was as unbroken as ever. So at last she had to take her father's boot tree and break the jug with that in cold blood. It was heartless work. Next, she broke open the missionary box with the poker. Jane told her that it was wrong, of course, but Antia shut her lips very tight and then said, Don't be silly. It's a matter of life and death. There was not very much... Oh, okay. No alarm clock.
No
Thanks.
alarm clock, no. Well, April was not impressed with my alarm clock, so... Nicely read. Just the one word, which is your usual ending swallowing.
Yeah.
Tumbled.
Tumbled.
Yeah.
Tiny breakfast. I was hungry.
A little
Tumbled.
snack.
Is it better?
Tumbled, yes.
Yeah.
Just a little snack. Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
Any questions before we move on? Anything anybody not sure of?
I like the Last of Mohicans. It was very popular here.
Yeah? Oh, maybe that's something we could read next time.
Why not?
Yeah,
I
we
think.
always say the last of the Mohicans. The last of the Mohicans.
Of the Mohicans. I see. It's differently translated into
Yeah.
Polish.
Yeah.
But it's a sad story.
It is, but it's a good one. I mean, I even enjoyed
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah.
I even enjoyed the film, the modern film with Daniel Day-Lewis, wasn't it? Yeah. But yeah, it's a good book. It's a good book. But yeah, maybe so from England back to America, because we came from America, wasn't it? Yeah, Jack London last time, so we could maybe go back. Okay, so
And some Indians after Hiawatha.
yeah, that's it, exactly. I would think that a lot of Native Americans would be very horrified to read about this particular one, because they go on about scalping, and that really wasn't, that wasn't the be-all and end-all of Indian culture. That's how everybody talks about it, but anyway. Shiny, you are on. Are you okay to speak? Because I still haven't heard your lovely voice today.
Hello.
Hi, hello. Good. I can hear the crickets. Okay, good. Are you ready to read? Oh, okay. 222 again. Moz is coming back online.
Oh. Hello.
Hello. That's better. Yes.
Sorry for that.
That's okay.
There was not very much in the missionary box. Is that the right place to start?
Sorry, yes, I thought you had started. Yes, it is.
Oh, okay, thank you. There was not very much in the missionary box, only 7 and 4 pence. But the girls between them had nearly 4 shillings. This made over 11 shillings, as you will easily see, and Thea tied up the money in the corner of her pocket handkerchief. Come on, Jen, she said, and went down to the farm. She knew that the farmer was going into Rochester that afternoon. In fact, it had been arranged that he was to take the 4 children with him. They had planned this in the happy hour when they believed that they were going to get that £100 in 2-shilling pieces. Out of Summit, they had arranged to pay the farmer 2 shillings each for the ride. Now Anthea hastily explained to him that they could not go, but would he take Martha and the baby instead? He agreed, but he was not pleased to get only half a crown instead of 8 shillings. Then the girls ran home again, and Thea was agitated, but not flurried. When she came to think it over afterwards, she could not help seeing that she had acted with the most far-seeing promptitude. Just like a born general, she fetched a little box from her corner drawer and went to find Martha, who was laying the cloth and not in the best of tempers. Look here, said Anthea. I've broken the toilet jug in Mother's room. Just like you, always up to some mischief, said Martha, jumping down a salt cellar with a bang. Don't be cross, Martha dear, said Anthea. I've got enough money to pay for a new one. If only you'll be a dear and go and buy it for us. Your cousins keep a china shop, don't they? And I would like you to get it today, in case Mother comes home tomorrow. You know, she said she might, perhaps. But you are all going into town yourselves, said Martha. We can't afford to. If we get the new jug, said Anthea, but we'll pay for you to go, if you'll take the lump. And I say, Martha, look here, I'll give you my Liberty box if you'll go. Look, it's most awfully pretty, all inlaid with real silver and ivory and ebony, like King Solomon's temple. I see, said Martha. No, I don't want your box, miss. What you want is to get the precious lump off your hands for the afternoon. Don't you go for to think I don't see through you? No. Sorry. This was so true that Anthea longed to deny it at once. Martha had no business to know so much, but she held her tongue. Martha set down the bread with a bang that made it jump off its treasure. I do want the jug got, said Anthea softly. You will go, won't you? Well, just for this once, I don't mind. But mind you don't get into none of your outrageous mischief while I'm gone. That's... Oh, he's going earlier than he thought, said Anthea eagerly. You'd better hurry and get dressed. Do, do put on that lovely purple frock, Martha, and the hat with the pink cornflowers and the yellow lace collar. Jane'll finish laying the cloth, and I'll wash the lamb and get him ready.
Well
As
done.
she
Okay.
washed...
Yep. Stop.
Thank
Good.
you.
Nicely read. Couple of words for you. Let's have a look at the individual words first. Then we've got a sentence, and you get a smiley. But here we go. So, first of all, you said it quite correctly if it was today, 4 pence. So if it was 4p, like that, in new money, it would be 4 pence. But this is old money. So it's 7 and 4 pence. We used to say punce, like threepence, tuppence, in old money. And do you know what the 7 would be? Anybody? What would be the 7? 7 and 4 pence? Any ideas what the 7 is? 7 whats? 7 sheep? 7 pounds? No?
Shillings?
Yay! 7 shillings and 4 pence. Yay! So
Yeah.
7 shillings and 4 pence. And it would actually be written with a D. Don't ask me why, okay? But this was old money. There were 12 shillings to a pound back then, I think. 12 pence to a shilling. So everybody had to learn their 12 times table. Then we decimalised and it became much easier because it was just times 10. Okay, so I won't even ask you to say it. It's just so you know. Then shillings. So shillings. Try it, Shiny. Don't forget to unmute.
Shillings.
That's it. Good.
Shillings.
That's it. Shillings. Yeah. The old money. We don't have shillings anymore. We just have 50p, 10p, 20p. I think. Ooh, how much was a shilling when it changed over? I think it became 10p. The equivalent was like 10p, the 10p piece. Okay. I don't know either. Then the next one, not hastily, hastily. Don't be hasty. So it comes from hasty, like pastry. Hastily. Try it.
Hastily.
Not hastily, haste. Hastily.
Hastily.
Yeah. We often have this saying, less haste, more speed. Okay, so don't be hasty. Take your time and you'll get there more quickly in the end. Okay, less haste, more speed. To do something hastily. Then the next one is general, not general. There's no stress on the ER. General. Try it.
General.
Okay, that's better.
General.
Yeah, not general, just general.
General.
Okay, need to practice that one a little bit, but you're better. Anyhow, next one is dumping, not jumping. Dump. Try it.
Dumping.
That's better. Yeah, I think you just misread it. I think your pronunciation is fine. But if you dump something, you get rid of it, or in this case, you just put it down without being very careful. She dumped it on the table. I dumped my suitcase in the hall when I got home yesterday. I just dumped it in the hall because it was too heavy and I was too tired to carry it upstairs. So I dumped it in the hall and hubby carried it up for me, bless him. Okay, next one is this sentence. Okay, so the first one is Martha set down the bread, not sat down. To sit down, yes, to sit on a chair, to sit down on the sofa, but this is set down, which is again like placing something somewhere. Okay, so Martha set down the bread with a bang that made it jump off its trencher. Okay, do you want to try it?
Martha set down the bread with a bang that made it jump off its treasure.
Not trencher.
Trencher.
That's it, yeah. Trencher. Good. A trencher is just a long, like a platter. It's just the bread was on like a breadboard, okay? And so she dumped it on the table with such a bang that it actually jumped off the trencher, okay? And then you get a smiley for this one, which is King Solomon's. King Solomon's. Solomon's often used as a sort of a metaphor for wisdom. If you've ever read some of the King Solomon's tales about his wisdom, and we often talk about King Solomon. H. Rider Haggard, I think, wrote. Oh, it's another book we could read. King Solomon's Mines. It's all about hunting for treasure, etc. Okay, so well done. You got it. Solomon, King Solomon's. Okay. Any questions before we move on?
So Linz, fourpence. Fourpence is one coin.
No. I don't
And
think it ever
why
was.
do you write it in a word then?
Well, because there's 4 single pence, 4 pence. They were coins, but a 4pence isn't one coin. It went from, let me think, really old money. There was a farthing. Then there was a halfpence. I think there was a half, but I'm not sure. Then there was the penny, the old penny. Then there was the threepenny bit. There was a threepenny bit, which was a strange little multi-sided coin. Then there was 6pence. Then there was a shilling. Then there was a pound note. That was it for the coins, I think. No, there was a half crown, which was 2 shillings and 6, and there was a crown, which I think was 5 shillings, but they just don't exist anymore. Okay, but 4pence would have been maybe a threepenny bit and an old penny, or maybe 4 pennies. Okay. Oh, April's got to go. If you're interested in the coins as they stand today, I do have to update it because some of the money has changed, believe it or not. We've got some new notes. But anyway, you can learn a little bit about it there. And I think somewhere I've got some information on the old money as well. If I haven't, I really should, because it is quite complicated.
I remember on one of them there was a quote from Jane Austen.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
not
Jane
sure now.
Austen's been put onto one of the new notes. Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But strangely, a lot of people don't really like it because she's been prettified. Here we are. This is something about British money as well. Yes, they took an old portrait of her, but they really did make it look softer and make her look prettier in it. It's created quite a bit of fuss, but there you go. I'm sure she doesn't care. They photoshopped her.
I think
basically.
she doesn't. Yeah.
No. Okay, but yes, I need to update that to show the new money that we've got, which is now plastic as well. It's so slippery. Okay, April, are you back? If not, then we will get somebody else to read. Okay, so we'll skip April for now. Vinay, are you ready to read?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I can see.
Awesome. Okay, so if you take April's part for now, we'll pop her back in later. Okay, when
Oh,
you're
just I
ready.
forgot. From where I have to start, I forgot.
Okay,
I
you've
forgot the line.
lost your place. You've lost your place. Okay.
Yes.
As she washed the unwilling lamb. Page
Okay. Oh, okay. I find.
269
I
ish.
find.
Yeah.
As she washed the unwilling lamb and hurried him into his best clothes, Anthea peeped out of the window from time to time. So far, all was well. She could see no red Indians, when with a rush and a scurry and some deepening of the damask of Martha's complexion. She and the lamb had been got off. Anthea drew a deep breath. "It's safe," she said, and to Jane's horror flung herself down on the floor and burst into floods of tears. Jane did not understand at all how a person could be so brave and like a general, and then suddenly give way and go flat like an air balloon when you prick it. It is better not to go flat, of course, but you will observe that Anthea did not give way till her aim was accomplished. She had got the dear lamb out of danger. She felt certain that the Red Indians would be round the White House or nowhere. The farmer's cart would not come back till after sunset, so she could afford to cry a little. It was partly with joy that she cried, because she had done what she meant to do. She cried for about 3 minutes while Jane hugged her miserably and said at 5-second intervals, "Don't cry, Panther, dear." Then she jumped up, rubbed her eyes hard with the corner of her pinafore, so that they kept red for the rest of the day, and started to tell the boys. But just at that moment cook rang the dinner bell, and nothing could be said till they had been helped to minced beef. The cook left the room, and Anthea told her tale. But it is a mistake to tell a thrilling tale when people are eating minced beef and boiled potatoes. There seemed somehow to be something about the food that made the idea of Red Indians seem flat and unbelievable. The boys actually laughed and called Anthea little silly. "Why," said Cyril, "I'm almost sure it was before I said that Jane said she wished it would be a fine day." "It wasn't," said Jane briefly. "Why, if it was Indians," Cyril went on, "salt, please, and mustard. I must have something to make this mush go down. If it was Indians, they would have been infesting the place long before this. You know they would. I believe it's the fine day." "Then why did the semi-aide say we would let ourselves in for a nice thing?" asked Anthea. She was feeling very cross. She knew she had acted with nobility and discretion, and after that it was very hard to be called a little silly, especially when she had the weight of a burglar missionary box and about 7 and 4 pence, mostly in coppers, lying like laid upon her conscience. There was a silence during which cook took away the mincy plates and brought in the pudding. As soon as she had retired, Cyril began again. "Of course, I don't mean to say," he admitted, "that it wasn't a good thing to get Martha and the lamb out of the way for the afternoon. But as for Red Indians, why, you know jolly well the wishes always come that very minute. If there was going to be Red Indians, they would be here now." "I expect they are," said Anthea. "They are lurking amid the undergrowth. For anything you know, I do think you are most unkind. Indians almost always do lurk, really, though, don't they?" put in Jane, anxious for peace. No, they don't, said Cyril tartly. And I'm not unkind. I'm only truthful, and I say it was utter rote breaking the water jug. And as for the missionary box, I believe it's a treason crime, and I shouldn't wonder if he could be hanged for it, if any of us was to split. Shut up, can't you? Said Robert, but Cyril couldn't. You see, he felt in his heart that if there should be Indians, they would be entirely his own fault. So he did not wish to believe in them. And trying not to believe things when in your heart you are almost sure they are true is as bad for the temper as anything I know. It's simply idiotic, he said, talking about Indians when you can see for yourself that it's Jane who is got her wish. Look what a fine day it is. Oh, he had turned toward the window to point out the finance of the day. The other turned too, and a frozen silence caught at Cyril, and none of the others felt at all like breaking it. For there, peering round the corner of the window, among the red leaves of the Virginia creeper, was a face, a brown face, with a long nose and a tight mouth and a very bright eyes, and the face was painted in colored patches. It had long black hair, and in the hair were feathers. Every child's thank you.
Done. Nice, very nicely read. Well done. Okay, a couple of little words. Just we'll do that first, the individual words, and then we'll look at just one phrase. Okay, so the first word is peeped. To peep is a verb, which means to look at something, usually through a small gap. That's why we have peeping toms. A peeping tom is somebody who looks through keyholes at things they shouldn't look at. So, peeped. Try it.
Peeped.
That's it. Good. And then sometimes you get it right, which would, of course, would be that, see, and it should be she. So just be aware, okay? And again, the th sound. So you've got the sh sound and the th sound, okay? For three. If you don't get that th, then it sounds like tree. Okay, so try it. Three.
Three.
Better. What's happening is your tongue is touching your teeth. So you're going three. And it doesn't need to. It should be
Yes.
kept away. Just a slight gap between your front teeth and your tongue. And you get three. Three. Okay? Then the next one is brief. Briefly.
Briefly.
Yeah, it's a very short time. Yeah, I'll be with you briefly. Brief can be like briefcase, legal papers, but in this context, it's a short amount of time. Yeah, a brief moment in history. And then the next one is the O-U-G-H sound. Oh, it's a horrible one. You have to learn all the different sounds it can make. And this one is brought. To bring, he brought. Try it.
Brought.
That's better. Good. And then the next one, I know it's an X, but it actually makes a sound with the A-N-X-I. Anxious. So it's not anx. It anx. I can't even do that. Anx. Like axe. It's anxious. So you've got the shus at the end. Ank and then shus. Anxious. Try it.
Anxious.
Yeah, try not to do sh at the end. Anxious.
Anxious.
Yeah, okay. What you're doing is you're saying shush. Okay? And it should be shus. Anxious. One more go. Anxious.
Anxious.
Getting there. Practice. What can often happen? Yeah, it's difficult because what can happen is your tongue's formed that shape, and so it wants to reform it, and you just have to control your tongue. Anxious. Don't be anxious about it though. Okay, now the next one. when you see the short form, don't be frightened of reading it as the short form. Okay, because I've noticed when you see the short form like weed, you try to say we would, but in this case it's we had. He said we'd let ourselves in for a nice thing. And that's actually not short for we would, that's short for we had. He said we had done that. Okay, so just try it with the short form. It's perfectly good English to use the short form, especially in speech. Not so good in a academic paper or something like that, but in literature and in speech it's fine. So, we'd let ourselves in for a nice thing. Try it. Oh, have you got it? Okay, I can't hear you, so we'll have to just skip that one. Okay, but don't be frightened of I'd, we'd. It's like it's. If you're happy to say it's, which most people learn that quite early on, don't be frightened to say we'd, she'd. Okay, they'd.
Okay.
It's perfectly good English, honestly. Okay? Okay, April is back,
Okay.
I think. Any questions before we move on to April's reading? No?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I found one word in this
Uh-huh.
turtle. I think it's turtle. I think this is. I don't know exactly the meaning of this turtle. Um,
Okay, I've just got to look it up because I can't remember saying that. Oh,
No, but it's study, something different.
startled, maybe.
No. Tartly, I think. Am I right?
Oh yeah, tartly. No, they don't, said Cyril Tartly.
yes,
Tartly.
tartly. Tartly. Yes.
I think what? Tartled? Tartled? Okay, I've got it.
I didn't
Well,
know it, so I looked it up. It's in my notes.
Okay, yes. In this case, it's about taste and feeling. Okay, so if something tastes tart, even though tarts are sweet, if something tastes tart, it's very sharp. Okay? And if you say something tartly, you say something in an annoyed way. You're saying it in a sharp way. So it would be something like, "No, they don't," said Cyril tartly. He's annoyed, he's upset, and he's saying something in that sharp, nasty way. Okay? Thank you, Eleanor. Always have a look at Eleanor's notes as well. Okay, so April, do you know where we're up to?
I think so. Sorry for that.
That's okay. Life has
for
interrupted us.
electricity. And I still
Oh,
have
you
my
not paid your
headphone,
bill?
and I don't. he
Oh,
looked at
April
me as
hasn't-
I'm an alien. Oh my
Oh dear. Had you not paid your bill?
god. Almost. Almost not.
Okay, so there you go. It's from Every
Every
Child.
Child,
Yeah,
yeah?
that's the one.
Yeah.
Well done.
Every child's mouth in the room opened and stayed open. The pudding was growing white and cold on their plates. No one could move. Suddenly the feathered hat was cautiously withdrawn, and the spell was broken. I'm sorry to say that Antia's first words were very like a girl. There now, she said, I told you so. The pudding had now definitely ceased to charm. Hastily wrapping their portions in a spectator of the week before last, they hid them behind the crinkled paper stove ornament and fled upstairs to reconnoiter and to hold a hurried council. Packed, said Cyril handsomely when they reached their mother's bedroom. Panther, I'm sorry if I was a brute. All right, said Antia, but you see now. No further trace of Indians, however, could be discerned from the windows. Well, said Robert, what are we to do? The only thing I can think of, said Antia, who was now generally admitted to be the heroine of the day, is if we dressed up as like Indians as we can and looked out of the windows or even went out. They might think we were the powerful leaders of a large neighboring tribe and not do anything to us, for fear of awful vengeance. But Eliza and the cook, said Jane, you forget they can't notice anything. You forget they can't notice anything, said Robert. They wouldn't notice anything out of the way, even if they were scalped or roasted at a slow fire. But would they come right at sunset? Of course, you can't be really scalped or burnt to death without noticing it, and you'd be sure to notice it next day, even if it escaped your attention at the time, said Cyril. I think Antia's right, but we shall want a most awful lot of feathers. I'll go down to the hen house, said Robert. There's one of the turkeys in there. It's not very well. I could cut its feathers without it minding much. It's very bad, doesn't seem to care about what happens to it. Get me the cutting out scissors. Earnest reconnoitering convinced them all that no Indians were in the poultry yard. Robert went. In 5 minutes he came back, pale but with many feathers. Look here, he said, this is jolly serious. I cut off the feathers, and when I turned to come out, there was an Indian squinting at me from under the old hen coop. I just brandished the feathers and yelled, and got away before he could get the coop off top of himself. Panther, get the colored blankets off our beds and look sleepy. Can't you? It is wonderful how like an Indian you can make yourself with blankets and feathers and colored scarves. Of course, none of the children happened to have long black hair, but there was a lot of black calico that had been bought to cover school books with. They cut strips of this into a sort of fine fringe and fastened it around their heads with the amber-colored ribbons of the girls' Sunday dresses. Then they stuck turkey's feathers in the ribbons. The calico looked very like long black hair, especially when the strips began to curl up a bit. But our faces, said Antia, they're not at all the right color. We are all rather pale, and I'm sure I don't know why, but Cyril is the color of putty. I'm not, said Cyril. The real Indians outside seem to be brownish, said Robert hastily. I think we ought to be really red. It's sort of superior to have a red skin if you are one. The red ochre cook uses for the kitchen bricks seem to be about the reddest things in the house. The children mixed some in a saucer with milk, as they had seen cook do for the kitchen floor. Then they carefully painted each other's faces and hands with it, till they were quite as red as any red Indian need be, if not redder. They knew at once that they must look very terrible when they met Eliza in the passage, and she screamed aloud. This unsolicited testimonial pleased them very much. Hastily telling her not to be a goose, and that it was only a game, the 4 blanketed, feathered, really and truly redskins went boldly out to meet the foe.
Good, well done.
I say, thank you.
Oh no, to me. Oh yeah, carry on, carry on.
I say boldly, that is because I wish to be polite. At any rate, they went.
Very good, well done. Okay, I've just got to put that one last little word. Okay, so first word. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? Not pud.
Isn't it
pud.
pudding?
Pudding, yeah, but that's
Pudding.
not what you said.
Yeah.
You said pudding, pudding, pudding. It's pu,
Pudding.
like put, pudding. Okay.
Yeah. Pudding.
Yeah, that's it. Good. Well done. And the next one. Okay. It's. Oh, sorry. The next one is what we call a false prefix. It's not re, because you can't connoitre something and then reconnoitre it. It's re. Reconnoitre.
Reconnoitre. Connoitre or connoitre, Lynn?
Connoitre.
Connoitre.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. It's one of those that we haven't taken all the French pronunciation. But hang on, here you go. That's it. So reconnoitre.
Reconnoitre. No. Reconnoitre.
That's it. Yes, well done. And then the last one, foe. Your old foe, not foo, foe. Yeah,
Foe.
like
Foe.
enemy. Your foe is your enemy. Okay. Okay. Then the next bit, just something to be aware of when you've got she and then you follow the next word with an S, you tend to say she said. So it's a little bit like Vinay. She said. He said, she said. Try it. Oh, have you got voice? Have I got voice?
She.
Oh yeah.
She said.
Yeah.
She said.
Try if you find that difficult, do the she sells seashells, okay? On the voice thread, okay? Try recording it. She sells seashells on the she. Yeah, you see, she sells seashells on the seashore. It is a tongue twister. You tend to go seashed.
Ah, okay.
You tend to literally say, it sounds like sea shed instead of she said. Okay?
Yeah, she said.
That's
she
it.
said.
She said.
She's.
Okay, now the next one, it's about time. So you've got to get it in the right order. In a spectator of the week before last. Do you know how many weeks that is?
The, 2 weeks before? 3 weeks before?
About at least 3 weeks before. Could even so you've got
3
the
weeks.
week before last. So you've got not last week, the week before last, and the week before that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the 3 weeks in between.
That's it.
Between the.
So an old
there, yeah.
and The Spectator, by the way, is very old magazine, kind of news weekly magazine, sort of about the news. Okay, it's called The Spectator. You can still buy it today. So even back then, it was going. Okay, that's why it's a spectator of. Okay, and then the last one. Okay, it's again about the stress and the way you say this. Okay, earnest reconnoitring convinced them all that no Indians were in the poultry yard. Not all that. It's convinced them all that no Indians were there. Okay?
Okay. Earnest reconnoitering convinced them all that no Indians were in the poultry yards.
Perfect. Well done. And you all know what poultry is? Poultry?
Chicken.
Turkey,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. So all those meat birds, basically, once they become meat, are poultry. Okay, very good, well done. And so, last but not least, only if she's got voice, Reem, have you got voice?
Yes.
Yay! Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Good, good,
Yeah.
good. Hi.
Yeah.
Nice to hear you.
Uh, yes. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so whenever you're ready. Okay?
Yes. From along the head edge, divining the wilderness for the ground was a row of dark hills, all highly feathered. It's our only chance. We whispered Antia. Much better than to wait for the blood freezing attack, attack. We must pretend. We must pretend like mad, like that game of cards where you printed you've got us when you haven't. Lively, they call it, I think. Now them whoopee with four World War whoopies or as near them as English children could be accepted to go without any previous particulars. They reached through the the gut, goat, goat, gate, and strike for warlike attempts in face of line of red Indians. These were all about the same height, and that height was serious. I hope to goodness they can talk English, said Cyril through his attributes. Atia, now they could, thought she never know how she came to know it. She had a white towel tied to a walking sticky. This was a flag of truck, truck, and she waved it in the hope that the Indians would know what it was. Apparently, they did, for one who was Brown pronour pronour than the other stipulate forward. Yeah, sick, a poo, wow, he said in excellent English. I am Golden Eagle of the mighty trippy, trappy of rock dwellers, and I, said Antia with suddenly inspiration, am the Black Panther, chief of the Maziwatal tribe. My brothers, I don't mean, yes, I do. The tribe, I mean the Maziwatis are in page below the prow of yonder here. And what made worries by this? Asked Golden Eagle, uh, turning to the other. Cyril said, Yes.
So
Yes.
very good, very good. Well done. Nicely
Yeah.
read.
Thank you.
We've got quite a few little words here, so we'll look at those
Okay.
first, okay, and then we'll look at a couple of sentences because you're getting to the point now where you need to look at whole sentences as well. So let's begin with the individual words. Okay, so we've got hedge, dividing. A hedge is basically a series of plants grown together to provide like a partition. So a hedge dividing. Try it.
A hedge dividing.
That's it. So dividing comes from the verb to divide. Okay. So then it becomes, it's a regular verb, so it's the hedge is dividing. The hedge divides the two properties. Okay. Hedges are very popular in the UK. In Germany, it tends to be more walls. They build walls rather than having lots of hedges. But if you go to a UK garden, a British garden, you'll see lots of hedges. Then to pretend.
Pretend.
Yes, they're pretending to be Indians. Children pretend a lot. They pretend by playing. And sometimes adults pretend. They pretend to be something they're not. Maybe they pretend to be rich. Or okay, now the next one, I've put 2 exclamation marks there because it's very important. It's an ace. Ace. Okay.
Ace.
Ace. Okay, it's the top card in a game of cards is the ace. The Ace of Spades is a song. The Ace of Spades. The Ace of Spades. And you've got to say ace, not arse. Arse is another word for derriere, bum, bottom. Okay, so do be careful of that one. It should be aces.
Yes.
Try it. Aces.
Aces.
That's it.
Aces.
That's it. Much safer. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is wild. Go wild. Go wild.
Wild.
Yeah, like wild animals. Wild weather. Wild parties. Okay? Wild. Then the noise the children were making, which is this the noise that traditionally in westerns the Indians would make when they were attacking, is a whoop. It's a whoa 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 whoa, a whoop. So whoops, whoops.
Whoops.
Yeah, that's
Whoops.
it. It's a nice word. Whoops. You can also say it like whoops-a-daisy when you fall or trip or have an accident. You can say, oh, whoops. But in this case, it's the noise they were making, the whoo, 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 whoo. Okay. Then to expect something, you expect the session to start on time, and the past regular verb expected. Try it.
Expected.
Expected, yeah.
Expected.
Yeah. So don't think of accept. You've got expect
Yeah.
and accept. So you just got to get them right round the right way. Expected. And then again, this is an irregular verb. So you've got to know. That's the normal form. But then the past tense is he knew. It's like knew.
New.
Yeah, knew. Okay. How did you know?
New.
I knew. I just knew. Okay, bye Eleanor. Thanks for coming. Bye bye. Take care. Okay, the next one is to call a truce. A truce.
Truce.
Truce. That's it, yeah. Remember when there's an E at the end of a word, the vowel within the word often changes to a longer sound. Okay, so
Yeah.
do be aware of that. I've noticed a couple of times you let, we'll come to another one where you let it, you seem to have a little bit of confusion, which is the next one. So truce, and then the next one, again, it's just a word ending that seems to throw you. Can you say that, Carla? That word?
Brown. Brown.
So you add it just becomes browner.
Browner.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Now,
Yeah.
the E at the end of a word often changes the vowel that precedes it, but not when there's a
T.
double. No, not when there's a double consonant. In this case, it's
Oh,
stepped.
stepped.
That's it. Which comes from the verb to step, but steeped comes from the verb to steep. I steep the tea bag in the tea, in the hot water, to steep. Okay, so just watch out for the double consonant in the middle. Then the E doesn't affect the preceding vowel. So step, stepped, double P, steeped, no double P, and double E, so you've got steeped. Okay? Okay, the next one, again, you've got an E at the end, so it's not trib, it's tribe. When two tribes go to war, only one can win for sure. Tribe.
Tribe.
That's it, well done. And then dwellers, from to dwell, yeah, but a dweller.
Dwellers.
Yeah, people who live somewhere, yeah, are the people who dwell somewhere. They live there. Okay. The next one is ambush.
Ambush.
Yeah.
Ambush.
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 That's it, yes. If somebody ambushes you, they attack you from a hiding place. Okay?
Yeah.
So you hide and then you ambush somebody by attacking them. Okay? And then the last one means just very powerful, mighty.
Mighty.
That's
Mighty.
it. Well done. Okay, then we've got a couple of smileys for you. The first one, practice. Well done. Practice makes perfect. And then gate. And you got it.
Gate.
You worked it out. Gate. Again, that E tells you that the A takes the long vowel sound. Gate. Not goat, not gut. Gate.
Yeah. Gate.
Good. And I'll just read these out for you. This should be read. I hope to goodness they can talk English, said Cyril through his attitude. Okay.
I hope to goodness they can talk English, said Cyril, through his attitude.
Through his attitude.
Through, yes.
Yes, okay. And she had a white towel tied to a walking stick.
She had a white towel tied to walking stick.
Tied to a walking stick. Don't ignore the article. Tied to a walking stick.
Tied to a walking stick.
That's it. Yay! Well done.
Okay. Thank you very
You're
much,
welcome.
Liam.
You're welcome. No, it's good job. Well done. Okay, now, has everybody... I've got time, if everybody's got time for Moz. Moz, have you got time to read?
Oh yes, if there's anything to read, I will read.
Oh yeah, there's something to read. Do you know where to read from, though?
I know. Where did she?
Okay.
Where did she
Page
start?
279.
Along the hedge.
No. Cyril said
Along
he
the
was the
hedge.
great chief squirrel. From page 279 in the book.
279. Okay.
Yeah. Got it?
The first paragraph, where you seek a powwow. He said.
Nope.
Is
Cyril's
that mean?
from "And what mighty warriors be these?" The next sentence. Cyril said he was the great chief squirrel.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, Kevin. Thank you for the reading. Okay. Cyril said he was the great chief squirrel of the morning Congo tribe, and seeing that Jane was sucking her thumb and could evidently think of no name for herself, he added, "This great warrior is Wildcat, Pussy, Ferox, we call it in this land, leader of the vast Fitzy tribe. And though valorous Redskin, Golden Eagle inquired suddenly of Robert, who, taken unawares, could only reply that he was Bob's leader of the Cape Mounted tribe. And now, said Black Panther, our tribes, if we just whistle them up, will far outnumber your puny forces. So resistance is useless. Return, therefore, to your hand, O brother, and smoke pipes of peace in your wampums, with your squaws and your medicine men, and dress yourselves in the gayest wigwams, and eat happily of the juicy flesh-caught moccasins. You've got it all wrong, murmured Cyril angrily, but Golden Eagle only looked inquiringly at her. Thy customs are other than ours, O Black Panther, he said. Bring up thy tribe, that we may hold powwow in state before them, as becomes great chiefs. Well, bring them up right enough, said Anthea, with their bows and arrows, and tomahawks and scalping knives, and everything you can think of. If you don't, look sharp and go. She spoke bravely enough, but the hearts of all the children were beating furiously, and their breath came in shorter and shorter gasps, for the little real red Indians were closing up round them, coming nearer and nearer with angry murmurs, so that they were the center of a crowd of dark cruel faces. It's no go, whispered Robert. I knew it. Will it will it be? Will it be? We must make a bolt for the summit. It might help us. If it doesn't, well, I suppose we shall come alive again at sunset. I wonder if scalping hurts as much as they say. I'll wave the flag again, said Anthea. If they stand back, we'll run for it. She waved the towel, and the chief commanded his followers to stand back. Then, charging wildly at the place where the line of Indians was thinnest, the four children started to run. Their first rush knocked down some half dozen Indians, over whose blanketed bodies the children leaped, and made straight for the sand pit. This was no time for the easy way by which carts go down. Right over the edge of the sand pit, they went among the yellow and pale purple flowers and dried grasses, past the little bank martins, little front doors, skipping, clinging, bounding, stumbling, sprawling, and finally rolling. Yellow Eagle and his followers came up with them, just at the very spot where they had seen the summit that morning. Breathless and beaten, the wretched children now awaited their fate. Sharp knives and axes gleamed round them, but worse than this was the cruel light in the eyes of Golden Eagle and his followers. Ye have lied to us, O Black Panther of the Mazawatis, and thou, too, Squirrel of the Moniconios. These also, pussy ferox of the Fitesi, and Bobs of the Cape Mounted Police. These also have lied to us, if not with their tongues, yet by their silence, ye have lied under the cover of the truce flag of the pale face. Ye have no followers. Your tribes are far away, following the hunting trail. What shall be their doom? He concluded, turning with a bitter smile to the other Red Indians. Build with a, build, build with the fire, shouted his followers. And at once a dozen ready volunteers started to look for fuel. Four children, each held between two strong little Indians, cast despairing glances round them. Oh, oh, if they could only see the summit. Do you mean to scalp us first and then roast us? Asked Anthea desperately. Of course, Redskin opened his eyes at her. It's always done. The Indians had formed a ring round the children, and now sat on the ground gazing at their captives. There was a threatening silence. Then, slowly, oh,
Okay, well done, nicely read. So we will find out
you,
what happens to them next week. Oh, well done. Very, very good, because that was really difficult. And I'll explain why. Yeah, I'll explain why in a moment. But we'll start with the individual words at the beginning. The first one is from to inquire, yeah, which is like to ask, to question. But you can say something inquiringly. Inquiringly. Try it.
inquiringly.
That's it. And then the next one, it's wheel. If you notice there's the apostrophe, it's short for we will, but it's fine. Yeah, not well. Wheel. Try it.
Okay, wheel.
That's it. Good. And then easy. It's not like east. It's not the softer sound. It's not easy. It's easy. Easy peasy. Easy peasy apple squeezy.
So to pronounce each word. Okay.
Try it.
Easy.
Easy peasy.
Easy. Easy peasy.
That's better, but try and get that z. It's the vibration of your tongue that makes the z sound. Easy.
As in Z sound.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we say easy squeezy apple, easy peasy apple squeezy.
Easy peasy.
That's
Okay.
it, because it kind of helps to remind you that it's a z sound. So easy peasy apple squeezy. Okay. Then now the next two, which made it very difficult, and all of those made up words. Well done, you did a really good job there. So thou and ye, Old English.
Oh, you confuse me. Okay. Thou,
And ye.
ye. Okay, yeah. I thought yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah is that. Ye, it's just you. In the old Shakespearean days, there was a formal you. Ye and thou. Okay?
I
Hear
get it.
ye, hear ye. It's about the only time you'd ever hear ye at the moment nowadays is if you were in one of these towns with a town crier. And the town crier dresses up in a uniform with a bell, and it still happens in some older towns. We'll go into the market square, ring the bell, and we'll cry out, hear ye, which means listen up, listen up.
Oh, I heard that before from very long
Yeah,
time.
that's it. It's an old it's an old form of formal English. Luckily, it no longer exists, but you will find it still in novels, in literature. You will come across it, and certainly if you look at Shakespeare.
I remembered I watched it from Disney, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, could be. As I say, it's still used in this town crier ringing the bell. Hear ye, all present attend, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So, very nicely read. Well done. So next week we will find out what happens to the children, whether they get scalped. And I'll have to go now though. So thanks a lot and thank you for taking part. I hope you enjoyed.
very much, Lynn. Thank you.
You're welcome, Moz. Thank you. Thanks, April. Well read. Bye. Take care, everyone.
Okay, bye
Thank
all.
you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Okay to speak? Because I still haven't heard your lovely voice today.
Hello.
Hi, hello. Good. I can hear the crickets. Okay, good. Are you ready to read? Oh, okay. 222 again. Moz is coming back online.
Oh. Hello.
Hello. That's better. Yes.
Sorry for that.
That's okay.
There was not very much in the missionary box. Is that the right place to start?
Sorry. Yes, I thought you had started. Yes, it is.
Oh, okay, thank you. There was not very much in the missionary box, only 7 and 4 pence. But the girls between them had nearly 4 shillings. This made over 11 shillings, as you will easily see, and Thea tied up the money in the corner of her pocket handkerchief. Come on, Jen, she said, and went down to the farm. She knew that the farmer was going into Rochester that afternoon. In fact, it had been arranged that he was to take the 4 children with him. They had planned this in the happy hour when they believed that they were going to get that £100 in 2-shilling pieces. Out of Summit, they had arranged to pay the farmer 2 shillings each for
As not. Perhaps they're only in Northumberland and Durham, said Jane soothingly. It was almost impossible to believe that it could really had people much to be scalped so far away as that. Don't you believe it, said Antia. The Samyat said we'd let ourselves in for a nice thing. That means they come here, and suppose they scalp the lamb. Perhaps the scalping would come right again at sunset, said Jane, but she did not speak so hopefully as usual. Not it, said Antia. The things that grow out of the wishes don't go. Look at the 15 shillings, Pussy. I'm going to break something, and you must let me have every penny of money you've got. The Indians will come here, don't you see? That spiteful Summit as good as said so. You see what my plan is. Come on. Jane did not see at all, but she followed her sister meekly into Mother's bedroom. Antia lifted down the heavy water jug. It had a pattern of stalks and long grasses on it, which Antia never forgot. She carried it into the dressing room and carefully emptied the water out of it into the bath. Then she took the jug back into the bedroom and dropped it on the floor. You know how a jug always breaks if you happen to drop it by accident. If you happen to drop it on purpose, it is quite different. Antia dropped the jug 3 times, and it was as unbroken as ever. So at last she had to take her father's boot tree and break the jug with that in cold blood. It was heartless work. Next, she broke open the missionary box with the poker. Jane told her that it was wrong, of course, but Antia shut her lips very tight and then said, Don't be silly. It's a matter of life and death. There was not very much of... Okay, no alarm clock.
No alarm
Thanks.
clock, no. Well, April was not impressed with my alarm clock, so nicely read. Just the one word, which is your usual ending swallowing.
Ah,
So,
yeah.
tumbled.
Tumbled.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Tiny breakfast. I was hungry.
A little
Tumbled.
snack.
Is it better?
Tumbled, yes. Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Just a little snack. Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
Any questions before we move on? Anything anybody not sure of?
I like the Last of Mohicans. It was very popular here.
Yeah? Oh, maybe that's something we could read next time. It's,
Why
we
not?
always say,
Yeah, I
we
think
always say the last of the Mohicans. The last of the Mohicans.
of the Mohicans. I
Yeah.
see. It's differently translated into
Yeah.
Polish.
Yeah.
But it's a sad story.
It is, but it's a good one. I mean, I even enjoyed
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah, yeah.
I even enjoyed the film, the modern film with Daniel Day-Lewis, wasn't it? Yeah. But yeah, it's a good book. It's a good book. But yeah, maybe so from England back to America, because we came from America, wasn't it? Yeah, Jack London last time, so we could maybe go back. Okay, so
And some Indians after Hiawatha.
yeah, that's it exactly. Um, I would think that a lot of Native Americans would be very horrified to read about this particular one because they go on about scalping, and that really wasn't. Yeah, that wasn't the be all and end all of Indian culture. That's how everybody talks about it. But anyway, Shiny, you are on. Are you?
Said, "Oh, don't bother me. You've had your wish." "I didn't know it," said Cyril. "Don't you remember yesterday?" said the Sun Fairy still more disagreeably. "You asked me to let you have your wishes wherever you happened to be, and you wished this morning, and you've got it." "Oh, have we?" said Robert. "What is it?" "So you've forgotten," said the Summit, beginning to burrow. "Never mind, you'll know soon enough, and I wish you joy of it, and I think you've let yourselves in for." "You always do somehow," said Jane sadly. And now the odd thing was that no one could remember anyone's having wished for anything that morning. The wish about the Red Indians had not stuck in anyone's head. It was a most anxious morning. Everyone was trying to remember what had been wished for, and no one could, and everyone kept expecting something awful to happen every minute. It was most agitating. They knew from what the Summit had said that they must have wished for something more than usually undesirable, and they spent several hours in most agonizing uncertainty. It was not till nearly dinner time that Jane thumbed over the last of the Mohicans, which had, of course, been left face downwards on the floor. And when Antia had picked her and the book up, she suddenly said, "I know," and sat down flat on the carpet. "Oh, Pussy, how awful! It was Indians he wished for, Cyril, at breakfast. Don't you remember? He said, 'I wish there were Red Indians in England.' And now they are, and they're going about scalping people all over the country as likely. Very thoughtful."
Hi, Vinay. Hi. Welcome. Okay, we're in English
How are
Book
you?
Club. I'm very well, thank you. I can hear you now, so I'm even better. Okay, so English Book Club today, Monday. Everybody, I hope, is ready to read. And today's reading list is Eleanor will start, followed by Shiny, then April, then Vinay, and then if she manages to come in and get her connection to work, Reem. Okay? Haven't missed anybody there. Good. So, really, whenever you're ready, Eleanor, if you'd like to start reading, that would be cool.
Yeah, I'm ready to be scalped.
Indeed.
Can you give me the first letter or the first sentence you are going to read?
Chapter 10.
Chapter 10.
10.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Neat
Nice
and
and
nice.
easy.
Chapter
Nice
10.
and easy.
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, that's so.
Okay.
Probably the day would have been a greater success if Cyril had not been reading The Last of the Mohicans. The story was running in his head at breakfast, and as he took his third cup of tea, he said dreamily, "I wish there were Red Indians in England. Not big ones, you know, but little ones, just about the right size for us to fight." Everyone disagreed with him at the time, and no one attached any importance to the incident. But when they went down to the sandpit to ask for £100 in 2 shillings pieces with Queen Victoria's head on, to prevent mistakes, which they had always felt to be a really reasonable wish that must turn out well, they found out that they had done it again. For the summit, which was very cross and sleepy,